This might be the greatest opening weekend in college football history. 3 top 10 matchups, new stars that have been eagerly awaited, powerhouse teams who have only one little question, and it's the most important one. Will their quarterback be good enough? And the celebration of an icon who for decades has lived for weekends just like this one. This is the College GameDay podcast. Week 1 is here. Rece Davis along with Pete Thamel, Dan Wetzel, and gentlemen, of course, the headline game, a top 3 clash between Texas and Ohio State. And we're going to dive into problems on the lines of scrimmage for each team, either whether that be replacing guys from last year or dealing with injury right now. But the 2 prevailing themes to me when we get to the banks of the Olentangy on Saturday morning will be the arrival of Arch Madness and the celebration of Lee Corso. The not so fast, my friend Lee Corso special was a remarkable stroll down memory lane, and we're going to have that show Saturday morning and have the finale of that show unlike anything that's ever been seen on College GameDay. It'll be a pick unlike any that has ever been made in the past. And while I'm sure there will be some tears here and there, the goal is for it to be a celebration. And for Lee's entire career, it's weekends like this that he was perfect at setting the stage for. And it'll be great to celebrate his career and let him set the stage one final time, Pete.
Yeah, Rece, I guess I'll start with my wife and I watched Not So Fast, My Friend the other day. And certainly when you work at ESPN and you recommend something at ESPN that comes maybe with some level of cynicism to the listener, I would just say this. If you don't like that documentary that our producers put together, you don't like college football. That's very simple. Like there's just because it is a wonderful nostalgia tour told through the prism of Lee Corso's career. It was touching, it was emotional, but it was also just like rollicking fun to see Beano Cook doing stuff, to see Chris Fowler looking like he just came out of like fraternity rush early in the thing. It was just some great memories, visuals, and it just walked you through the evolution of the sport. What a great job our people did on it, and I couldn't recommend it higher enough. For our, if you are listening to this podcast and you don't like that documentary, there's some kind of disconnect.
What strikes me about him is just he's a pioneer in the way his personality came through. And you go back to when really all of game day is, right? You'd watch pregame shows in the early 90s and the 80s, and it was, guys in these expensive suits sitting behind a desk, deathly serious about what was going to happen in the game and the analysis, and they didn't talk like football fans. It didn't feel, whether it was NFL or college, it was so serious. And game day, especially when it went to that first time on the road in 1993 to the Notre Dame Florida State game, and all of a sudden there's a backdrop and it's a tailgate and there's a smoker over here and there's this over here, and it's like, okay, that looks like football. That looks like football. That really looks like college football. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that Lee Corso started putting the headgear on and the jokes that he would have and the lines and the way he would set it up with that little, either a comic twist or a little bit of the pro wrestling, not so fast, my friend. And what was it? The Ticonderoga pencil.
Number two Ticonderoga.
Like he changed the game by sheer force of probably the first time he did it was 5 seconds, and everyone said, wow, that's really good. Oh my goodness, we can have fun doing this. This can be enjoyable. That we can laugh. This guy puts on a ridiculous, headgear. It doesn't really matter whether it's right or wrong. It just brings out a dog, all the different stuff. He shot the guns. I mean, everything going on. So just unbelievable pioneer in how sports is consumed. And I as a broadcaster, I think he's known as a personality. He was a great player. He was a very good coach. But as a broadcaster, one of the all-time pioneers, and certainly for this sport.
We used to have a former executive that when things would get a little bit loose, this is years and years ago, that he said, enough with this. We're serious football here. And so that's become a little bit of an inside catchphrase joke, because Lee would needle at that a little bit. So, I will, drop the phrase serious football here and there as an homage / needle to that particular former executive. But time for serious football. There's a time for it, and now is it. Texas and Ohio State, number 1 against number 3, 2 programs that lost 26 players combined to the NFL draft. Both have uncertainties at quarterback, though, despite his recruiting ranking. I would say the much larger question is Julian Sayin at Ohio State. Everybody thinks he's going to be good. There's not enough data to be absolutely certain of that. Same could be said for Arch Manning, although as Pete knows from an earlier podcast about quarterbacks who are going to have a great year, I'm completely confident that Arch is going to be great. Not only because of his talent, certainly I know he has the history, but mostly because of the combination of working with Steve Sarkisian, even against Matt Patricia and his number 2 pencil. Sarkisian has a gift, many gifts, but one of his gifts is being able to give his quarterback things that he can do it well, make him comfortable, get him started, confuse the defense, make it easy until he gets settled in. Did it brilliantly. I've drawn this comparison a lot of times, and I do think that Arch is infinitely more physically gifted than Mac Jones. But when Sark had Mac Jones at Alabama, I think a lot of people, including me, thought, I'm not sure he's going to hold this job. Probably going to have to play the freshman Bryce Young. But he got Mac started, took off, had a great year, second in the Heisman, first-round draft pick, all of that stuff. I've got immense confidence that Arch is going to play really well, not only Saturday, but all season, but particularly Saturday, Pete.
Rece, your position on Arch Manning has been well stated. I'm optimistic, obviously. The guy's tremendously talented. I think this game comes down to Arch Manning's legs. I think one of the big advantages, I think this game's going to be a little bit of a slog, right? I don't foresee 38-35 here. I don't know if we're picking yet, but I'm picking Texas to win 17-16. And I think a lot of this might come down to, Jaden Fielding and Mason Shipley, as much as we're going to talk about Arch Manning and Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin is a decent athlete, but he is not a mobile quarterback. There will not be called run plays for him. Arch Manning, the thing that maybe surprised me the most when we saw him last year against Mississippi State, UTSA, ULM, is that his feet were electric. And so I really think the facet of this game that hasn't been talked about enough is Texas's elite defense. When I was through Texas this spring, Steve Sarkisian said very bluntly, this is the best defense we've had here at Texas, and that's going to allow us to ease Arch in. He doesn't have to go score 49. So I think with the offenses adjusting, 2 new coordinators at Ohio State on both sides of the ball, Texas finding itself that this feels more like an NFL game than a shootout. So I like the Longhorns close, but I think one thing that week 0 gave us a reminder of, and we all know this, is that sometimes college football can be a little messy, right? Mm-hmm. Like that game in Dublin. And I just think there are going to be 2 teams that have a lot of, on a big stage, a lot to figure out. And I think it's going to take a little time on Saturday.
This is the thing. Arch Manning, most hyped recruit of all time. Not only was he the number 1 choice, number 1 recruit by everybody, but his last name. Okay, right? His grandfather, he's got 2 uncles. Everyone knows the whole story. So he's got that. He's also the most prepared. I mean, it's the guy, they have a passing academy named after his family. I mean, he's learned how to do he studied film with Uncle Peyton when he was 6 years old, right? His dad's was an excellent football player until he was injured. So, and then he takes his time getting to the starting position. The Mannings play the long game. And so this guy is not just hyped, but ready. I agree. It's the running ability of him. There was a lot of people down in Texas that thought, hey, maybe we should go with Arch Manning last year because he gives a dynamic that Quinn Ewers doesn't. Quinn, of course, came through in that big pass against Arizona State, reading a defense on, was it 4th and 13th? Then that's what that got. But I think he's going to be prepared. I think the biggest issue I think he's going to be really good right off the bat. He's not going to be what the fans are expecting, because they're expecting 2018 Peyton. That's not going to be the case, but or 2012 Peyton or whatever his best year was. He's not going to be that, but he's going to be really good. His issue to me is 4 new starters on the offensive line. Now, are the replacements really good recruits that just got their chance? Are these really good players just didn't have an opportunity? That to me is going to be the key to this game. Both teams replacing a ton of talent. Ohio State's got 14 draft picks last year, just an unbelievable team, and not just great players, but Jack Sawyers, those kind of leadership guys, JT, the 2 running backs sharing the ball, all the different guys they had that made that core team so good. They've got to replace them. But here's the thing: these 2 teams recruit so well. They're not. They might be replacing with new starters, but they're not just like combing the Sun Belt or the MAC. No offense. For transfers. These are guys that are really good that have just waited their turn at these 2 programs.
Here's my biggest question with the game. The best player on the field when Ohio State has the ball will be Jeremiah Smith. There's no question about that. But Ohio State's offensive line, I think they've got upwards of 80 career starts with the guys that they're going to put up there, but only a couple of full-time starters at Ohio State back this year. And they've got to deal with a Texas pass rush that is poised to be pretty dynamic. 2 of the better pass rushers. One of them's not even atop the depth chart to start. And Trey Moore, who I think was 3rd in the country at UTSA a couple of years ago in sacks and had a good year for Texas a year ago. And then, of course, throughout the offseason, we heard a whole lot from Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons posted the picture of Julian saying, or reposted it on the Instagram story. He's dialed back the rhetoric as we get closer and closer to this. They've got an interior guy in Murad Watson, who was a freshman All-America at Syracuse last year. So I know they're going to spit it out quick to Jeremiah Smith. They'll get him some touches. Will the Texas defensive front control this game? And right now, if I had to make a pick, as much as I'm looking forward to seeing Arch, as much as I can't wait to watch Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, I think the Texas defensive front is going to control this game. And I don't think it's going to be 17-16. And I don't think it will quite be what Texas did to Michigan last year. But I think you're going to walk out of there going, okay, after week 1, Ohio State's probably going to keep getting better. They're still a threat. They'll go to the playoff they'll be a different team in December. I think when we walk out Saturday afternoon, we're going to go, well, we know one thing. We know Texas is better than them right now.
Both taking Texas? Both taking Texas? Oh, I will gladly take Ohio State at home. Thank you. This is going to be a great game. I think the spread's 1.5. I think is a coin flip, but you give me the Buckeyes at home. Again, I think the Ohio State got so many guys to return for that championship run that would have left in a natural season where you didn't have that kind of brotherhood at Ohio State, that program saying, let's go win the national title. We would have a lot more starters because those guys just got held back because NFL players remained at Ohio State, which tells you about what Ryan Day's done and what that program is. I think they're going to fill those gaps pretty good. Do I know how good Julian Saying is? I do not. Nobody else does either. But as Rece's point, if you're going to be a first-time starter, and it does help to have Jeremiah Smith to throw the ball to, amongst everyone else, Carnell Tate and others. So I'm going to take Ohio State. I think they'll win and they'll cover. It'll be a wild scene down there in Columbus. I like the Bucks.
Pete, when Herb Street and I did the Herbie's thing, he had Kenyatta Jackson as one of the guys who could be, I think it was in the game record category or something. And he is the guy that Ohio State is counting on to step in for JT Tuimoloau and for Jack Sawyer. Now, I said that I think, and I'm not backing down from it, I'm just offering, because we haven't seen the teams play yet, the responsible opposing view. Texas has all those new starters on the offensive line too.
Yes.
And if Ohio State and this, all the new wave of 5 stars that'll be rushing the passer, that could control the game too. So maybe I'm I am definitive. I think Texas is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, the winning team, that will probably be the reason. And I do kind of agree with you, Pete. I don't think it'll be quite as low scoring as you do, but I do think that's the theme of the game, is that the defensive lines, the pass rushes, and who on the interior can control the other side from taking pressure off the new quarterback by running it, that'll be the key. From talking to Sark in the offseason, I'm looking forward to watching Watson in the middle of that Texas defensive line too.
Yeah, couple names to throw at you, Rece, who could break out this weekend. A lot of buzz at Ohio State this spring about Max Clare, the Purdue tight end transfer. If you call it this modern Ohio State era since Urban got there, they haven't had a tight end who's been like a top 50 pick, like a thumper game changer guy. They've had good tight ends who've been drafted third, fourth round, but they really haven't had a weapon at that position. Max Clare is a weapon at that position. And look, I'm not some X's and O's genius or never fancy to be, but there's going to be a lot of attention on the really good first-round pick wide receivers, Smith, Tate, Ennis is excellent, obviously. There's going to be some space for Max Clare to operate and some mismatches there because of his athleticism. So he's a guy who could really blow up into a household name. And then, obviously, on defense for Ohio State, we know Caleb Downs might be the best defensive player in college football. We know Sonny Styles might be the best linebacker in college football. The name that's gotten a lot of buzz in summer camp is Arvell Reese, who's the other linebacker, who may end up emerging to be a really high-end player as well. So it will be interesting to see if Arch does use his legs, how Ohio State mitigates that, and can some of these really talented guys disincentivize him from running.
Remember Pete Kwiatkowski last year? Now Ohio State won the game. They had other weapons, and they've got other weapons this year too, by the way. It's not just Jeremiah Smith. One catch, Dan, 3 yards in that Cotton Bowl last year. They made someone else beat them. Maybe the bad news for Texas, you do that again, they've got other receivers, and Clare is an emerging guy that can certainly do so.
Ohio State does not recruit bad players.
No.
This is I had a whole thing on the third when we had the third string quarterback was the big thing at Ohio State. It got him in the playoff deservedly, but it was like what they have bad quarterbacks. Like who would they just recruit? They got third string sounds like he's a 170 pound, kid just walk. No, they have great players all over. Let me say this real quick. I love that this could become a rivalry for the next 10 years. They met last year in the playoff. They got a little regular season schedule going. These are two teams that are, no reason they shouldn't be top 5 or 10 every single year. They should be in the playoffs every single year or pretty close. And so you could see a lot of matchups in the postseason to really build an what do they call it? Interconference rivalry that we haven't seen. We always talk about what we're losing in college football, and we have lost a ton of great rivalries through conference realignment and all that. But in this case, the playoff and some nice scheduling could really set this up. I mean, this is the second time they're meeting in 9 months. Mm-hmm. They could meet again in the playoffs this year. They could meet a lot in the playoffs going forward.
It is the blockbuster game of a blockbuster weekend, but it's certainly not the only one. We continue on the College Game Day podcast. We will talk LSU-Clemson and Notre Dame, Miami. Death Valley or Death Valley Junior. That's what's at stake. LSU and Clemson meeting again, another top 10 matchup. These two have a bit of a history. Dan was talking before the break about the recent history between Ohio State and Texas. Same is true for LSU and Clemson. In fact, there was a Peach Bowl game 2012 season, a year after that great LSU team that played the national championship game and lost Alabama, came back. Les Miles had it going, and Clemson came back and beat them in a Peach Bowl. And Dabo has often pointed to that game as sort of a landmark moment for the evolution of Clemson into a perennial championship contender. And now that's exactly what the Tigers are. LSU aspires to play in the playoff, win the championship. Again, they believe they've got the horses to do it. They've certainly got the quarterback. This is a tremendous matchup, Pete. This might prove to be the best matchup of the weekend. It's primetime ABC. The questions that we talked about with Texas, Ohio State, what are we going to see from the quarterbacks? You've got a much better feel for what you're going to see from guys in the LSU-Clemson game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really fired up for this game, Rece. Obviously, it's the opening weekend of college football. It's just this buffet of goodness. But this one's special. Both of these teams obviously come in with their with the issues they've had in openers, which kind of sets like an edge to the mood a little bit. Like somebody's got to come in and prove that they can win one of these big games. And I love the quarterback matchup. You have Garrett Nussmeier, who is this like wonderful gunslinger, whose offseason task, according to Key and Brian Kelly, is that he needs to be more composed and he needs to run in critical situations and utilize that and not hang in there and make mistakes like we saw him do in some big spots last year. Texas A&M really comes to mind at the forefront of that. And then you have Cade Klubnik, who's sort of like for a big-time recruit, a bit of a late bloomer. Now, obviously, quarterback development is a non-linear process, but give Cade Klubnik credit, because a year ago at this time, Rece, you and I were sitting on this podcast being like, Cade Klubnik, we need to see it, right? Mm-hmm. We need to see it. Yeah. And credit to him, he has shown it. And it just took a little longer maybe than the stars next to his recruiting name might have gone. So I think this will be a high-scoring game, and I think we are going to see the ball thrown around the yard. Clemson finally has Clemson caliber receivers. And for LSU, I feel like the key is they brought in a ton of high-end portal guys. Well, they need to come and produce right away. They need to have hit on those guys. One of the reasons LSU has lagged, relatively speaking, the last few years is infrastructure-wise, they didn't really have the portal figured out. They were not aggressive, and they were not able to go out in spots. That has changed. They have a bunch of fancy toys that they're going to roll out this week: receiver, safety, different places. So how quickly they acclimate and perform will prove the difference there.
I love that Brian Kelly has leaned into this. We want to win our opener. They haven't won an opener in a while. He famously pounded the table. This keeps happening last year when they lost to USC out in Vegas. I think he put Clemson Tiger Paws around Baton Rouge and things like that. I like that he's leaning into it. Clemson kind of needs this thing too. It's a little bit of a we're for real, a statement game. Obviously, both teams can lose this game, still make the playoffs, still win your conference, all of that. But for Clemson, and particularly for the ACC, to win this game would mean a lot. Clemson's not going to have a ton of opportunities to prove themselves otherwise. They have a good schedule in the ACC, play South Carolina late. But after the opener last year where they really got put on their back foot when Georgia really housed them, especially in that second half, to come out strong and say, yeah, we're for real. This is how we build our program. Cade Klubnik's a guy we developed. This is how we do it. Really big opportunity for Clemson. And then obviously LSU is desperate. If we're picking this right now, I'm going to take the home team in Clemson, but I think it's going to be high scoring and a terrific game.
I'm going to take I believe Clemson's going to win the game too. I have them preseason number 1. I think they're going to win the national championship. And I don't know if Tom Allen carries around a number 2 pencil, Ticonderoga, as Matt Patricia does. But whatever writing implement he uses, it tends to result in really good defensive play. He was really good at Penn State. Of course, he has a great history even prior to being the head coach at Indiana. And Clemson has weapons on defense that stop equivocating, didn't perform to their capabilities last year on the defensive line. That's going to change. I think Sammy Brown's going to be one of the best linebackers in America. They're going to give up points to LSU because everybody who plays LSU is going to give up points. And the streak will continue. LSU will, I think, they'll still make the playoff, I believe. I think they're good enough to do that even with a loss at Clemson. It will be difficult because their schedule is tricky for sure the rest of the way. But I really believe in this Clemson team. I think Dabo's pushed the right buttons on the staff to make some adjustments, Klubnik has matured. They do have a question at running back. I think Adam Randall's going to start there, the former receiver. They've got a highly touted freshman that will burst on the scene, one would imagine, at some point. Whether that's Saturday night, we shall see. But I think this will be a great game. And BK, as good a coach as he is, will continue to wear that Joe Burrow albatross, the last LSU quarterback to win the season opener. Was Joe Burrow in the national championship season in 2019. Notre Dame and Miami on Sunday night. Again, now, you know what? Stanford Steve in our College Game Day meeting the other day made a really good point, because you have half of the top 10, which basically, has no experience at quarterback. They have starting quarterbacks who've made 2 or fewer career starts. 4 of them have made 1 or none. But among those guys, as Steve pointed out, only Carson Beck, who is the new quarterback at Miami, he's the only one that is new to his program. The other guys have been in the system for at least 1 season, and some a little bit longer. So you have Beck, who is new to his team, and CJ Carr, who has bided his time, developed. The stories of his meticulous nature have followed him, and now he gets his chance against Miami. And it's a big game for Notre Dame, because they have their 2 biggest games, it looks like, on paper early, this one and Texas A&M at home. But boy, it feels huge for Miami. After sort of squandering a playoff opportunity last year, you go out, you get back. You got Notre Dame with a new quarterback. I think the Irish are loaded, though, everywhere else, and they are the epitome of a theme of the season. They've got it all if the quarterback plays well.
I just wonder, in this environment for CJ Carr, are they going to let him rip? I think Notre Dame's going to have to be a little bit predictably conservative, right? Like they're not a throw the ball around the lot team. They don't have the element of QB run that really saved them in their opener last year, right? Riley Leonard kind of sputtered through that game and figured it out with his legs, and that's just not who CJ Carr is. Now, I believe Jeremiah Love is the singular most talented tailback in the country, and he may end up being like a once every 5-year kind of prospect. I think he has an electricity in his legs and a dynamism. I think they'll use him more out of the backfield this year. He caught 28 balls last year. That said, I'm leaning Miami here. I have faith in the acclimation of Carson Beck, just the same way Cam Ward came in, mastered the offense. I was told this week in the last scrimmage, Beck completed more than 80% of his passes. I think he'll be smooth. He'll be a good decision maker. He has seen bright lights before and will not flinch. And for as good as Notre Dame's offensive line is, it's probably not as good as it's been the last 4 or 5 years. I think Miami has the best O-line in the ACC, and I think they will not get pushed around on either side of the ball, which is Notre Dame's strength. So I think this game's a bit of a slobber knocker as well, and I'm going to take the Canes.
Yeah, this is the trenches, man. This is going to be one in the trenches. If you like line play, if that's your thing, hardcore football, Notre Dame offensive line against a really talented Miami defensive front. And that to me is where this game is going to be won. A lot of talent there. Carson Beck to me is really interesting. He's going to me, this is not, people have really soured on Carson Beck. But you're talking about a veteran player who's played a ton of games, a ton of big games, and has a lot of experience, done a lot of great things against an unproven new player. How good is CJ Carr? We don't know. Could be great, but to people have kind of written off Carson Beck on this thing as a quarterback. I'm not quite sure why. One thing that we saw really last year proven is, and you saw it at Notre Dame with Riley Leonard, and you certainly saw it at Miami with Cam Ward. Quarterbacks can transfer in and just it's plug and play. I used to kind of believe you had to build that leadership through the years. That just isn't the case. Now, is Carson Beck going to be as good as Cam Ward? Probably not going to be the number 1 pick of the draft, but he's going to be good enough. And I just think Miami has recruited so well all over the field. I'm going to give them the advantage playing at home. This is unbelievable. All 3 of these top 10 matchups never happened before opening week. Hasn't happened, I think, since 2017. We've had 3 top 10s in 1 week. Just going to be incredible night after night.
Quick interjection. What do we think the crowd split is?
Well, I think Miami turns out.
Yeah, I do too.
But do you think Notre Dame takes over? I mean, that's like, you talk about Subway alums, Southern,
the U will come for the big games. They want.
Yeah, I was at that game, and what was that? I think it was 2017. Miami had a really good team.
It was Rick.
Yeah, Rick was there. I was on the sideline for that game, and Notre Dame represented, but that was a Miami crowd. I think it'll be a pretty significantly Miami crowd. I like Notre Dame in the game. Miami's breaking in a lot of new receivers. A lot of them transfers, I know, and Beck will be good. I really believe in Notre Dame's defense, believe in their secondary. They had the injury on the offensive line again to Jagisaw, so maybe their offensive line's not quite going to be what it is. I'm going with the Irish. I think they win that game. Pete, before we take a break, just to make sure, taking LSU or Clemson?
I'm taking LSU. Yeah, we can't be a podcast where everybody just like screams from the same pulpit, right? So I think Nussmeier goes in, gunslings it, and takes the win out.
I'm going to tell you though that what I used to tell guys, I don't have to tell these guys anymore, but earlier in my career, I would have analysts. I was like, I don't care if you agree or disagree. Say what you think. Say what you believe. Don't say something because somebody on some other show said it, let alone just because the guy next to you did it. Unless you're one of those guys like tilt up like my guy Mark May over the corner. I've used this analogy a few times. Now, Mayday's always going to say exactly what he thinks. However, if you inundate him with a procession of, look how green that grass is. That grass is so green. It's a beautiful shade of green. I've never seen green like that grass. Mayday will go, yeah, I see a little blue in there. Might be a little brown too. He's a contrarian. So if you're just being a contrarian because it's your nature, Pete, it's fine. Do you really think LSU's going to win? You really think LSU's going to win? BYOG?
I do.
All of that?
And I want my steak with some nice garlic butter on it. I really want my steak. So I'm going to get it.
Okay.
Fair enough. I believe in my picks, and my picks, I've already mispronounced like 7 names on this podcast. Said Peyton Manning was playing football in 2018. I've already gotten enough things wrong, so I know I'm going to get this right. I got this. I'm going 3 for 3 so far.
Is Teddy making your picks for you now? What is happening?
Teddy, who do you think's going to win, buddy? Who do you think's going to win, the bird from Miami or the fighting leprechaun?
Where's the fighting
He's from Southie. You got to go with it.
Yeah,
I will say,
Southie boys got to pick
the fighting Kansas State quarterbacks. That's what we got.
I will.
That's what I really want to see out of week 1, Rece, is more quarterback dad fights with the older brother. I want to see the Mannings throw down. I want like Eli versus Cooper.
I'm glad Teddy didn't sucker punch me there.
I think Teddy, because Avery Johnson's dad was winning that fight, Pete, and I was rooting for him. All dads should. Dad strength.
Dad strength. That's right.
Yes, man. Dad strength. You telling me Archie Manning wouldn't walk in with that 1970s New Orleans Saints toughness and just crack all 3 of his sons' heads up if necessary, if needed? No one's messing with that. Dad strength for the victory. We need more dads brawling. Dude, they were in Ireland. They should have channeled Conor McGregor and said, we apologize for nothing.
We had Pete and our producer on Game Day, Jim Galliero, and I had a text about this. This is outrageous. And I was like, I'm failing to see what problem you guys see. They lost. They're unhappy. They lost, and they started wrestling a little bit. I'm being facetious for all the, people.
Sometimes, it's a grown son.
The aggregators who get bothered and offended by everything.
It's a grown son. Yeah, sometimes you got to throw some hands when you lose to Iowa State. That's how important this game is.
Because, what is Farmageddon? Ooh, I said it. If not the final battle.
That got aggregated, by the way, Rece, just so you know.
Did it? What?
Your mentioning of a Farmageddon discouragement from powers that be was I got a text message about it from a school official at one of the places, and then I noticed it got a little aggregation action.
Were
Congratulations!
They mad?
I know you like to be aggregated, Rece.
Were they mad?
You know what? I would say the school official was not mad. He wondered where it came from, and he said they don't particularly love it, but they understand that it gives them attention, so they're not outwardly against it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I love Farmageddon.
I love it.
Nobody directed me to not say it, so I'm going to keep saying it.
It's what here's the thing. Dan pointed this out when we were talking about it. It's a great name. It's a great name because otherwise you wouldn't even really know if you didn't live in that region or you weren't a Big 12, old school Big 12, old Big 8 aficionado. You wouldn't really know that they're rivals because they haven't been good until recent history. So now recently they've been really good, but now it gives them a little something. Take it. Take the win. I mean, what are we in this country if we don't rely on our farmers? I like steak. I like corn. I like things that come from wheat. I mean, all of these things are good.
You like
things.
Dairy, Rece.
I love dairy.
You definitely like dairy.
Dairy because Pete orders oat juice in his coffee. And do you have oat juice in that? It's not
oat
milk.
Juice right in there. A little French vanilla with a little oat juice.
Pete gets embarrassed and rolls his eyes, Dan, because here's how my
juice.
Coffee shop order is this.
Oh, no.
I would like a large dark roast coffee with milk from a cow. If you don't have a cow, goat is okay. Would prefer cow. Because what happened, I had a problem once because I said whole milk. And the person was so accustomed to hearing oat milk that they put that vile substance in there, and then that was it. I had to pour it all out. It's terrible.
Yeah. And so, Pete, you have oat juice?
No,
he says milk, but it's not milk.
Rece gets really offended by almond and oat milk. Like it's a thing for him.
I like almonds. I like raw almonds. I like roasted almonds.
Marcona almonds are excellent.
They should aggregate the out of context lines in this. Like, I like almonds.
Be aggregated.
Okay.
You know what I really
drink
like?
my coffee black, like coffee should be.
That's a fair take.
There you go.
That's a fair take.
There you go.
I also like wasabi and soy almonds. Those are delicious. I like almonds, but there's no milk that's going to come from any of those things. So anyway, we will wrap up this podcast, probably mercifully so for some of you right after this. So many storylines in week one. Dan, we wrap this thing up after Bill Belichick has made his debut at North Carolina against TCU, and we put week one in the rearview mirror. What do you anticipate to be the biggest takeaway from it, the biggest storyline from it?
Yeah, well, there's one of your names. Two things I think everyone will be talking about on Tuesday is the debut of Bill Belichick, because it's just so anticipated. No one knows how this is going to work out. How good is this team? NFL legend taking over North Carolina with so much fanfare. And then Arch Manning. We've never had a player come in so hyped, and this is his first start. Everyone's looking for that. So huge expectations for those guys, and we'll see if they can live up to it. What do they show? I think at the macro level, the maybe mainstream or casual fan, it's going to be about Manning and Belichick. It's like 2006 NFL.
That's a tough take to top. I don't know if there's ever been a more anticipated team than North Carolina that we know so little about. I don't think they have any superstars. I don't know if they have any stars. I think this may be how Bill Belichick likes it. Fascinated to see what he does with a running quarterback in Gio Lopez, who we assume is going to be the starter there. He's an exciting, electric player, but that's the Sun Belt, and there is a jump up. So I am ready for like all sorts of results, right? As they go on, and I don't have like conviction about anything. We're obviously going to pick that game here soon, and I will make a pick. But I am I love the ambiguity in Chapel Bill, and look forward to being on the sideline, Rece, on Monday night.
Wouldn't be A week one College Game Day podcast without a few picks. We've made some selections on the bigger games of the day. Now, this is more of a stick and move. This is not against the spread this week. We are just picking winners. So let's start with another high-profile game in terms of name recognition, though only one of the teams is ranked. Alabama on the road at Florida State. They are expecting rain for Ty Simpson's first start. Pete, what say you of the Tide and the Seminoles, where there's probably going to be a little vitriol from that final playoff spot from a couple of years ago?
Well, we should let the listeners know, Rece, that our picking is not just for fun. There is a big, delicious, juicy ribeye at stake, as we have done in the past here. I know because I've had to buy a bunch of them the last few years. Look, I can't with a straight face pick Florida State in this game, right? I am interested to see Gus Malzahn channel like Nick Marshall-esque Auburn with Thomas Castellanos, but I think Alabama is supremely talented. I think they're dominant on both lines of scrimmage, and I think they win this game handily. I am intrigued to see Florida State. Tony White's done a good job at different stops in year one, bringing in he's kind of a hybrid 3-3-5 guy, but I am roll Tide.
Really hard to pick Florida State. It's so new. What are we getting here? Castellanos said in the offseason, Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban to save them anymore. I'm sure that's been repeated a few times. They don't need him. They're going to win this game.
I think LT Overton, defensive lineman from Alabama, has had his own version of the response. The disrespect will be dealt with accordingly, I believe, has been the phrase.
Nick saves Rece now anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I've got Nick Saban saving me and saving our show. I think Alabama is like a lot of teams in the top 10, flat loaded if the quarterback plays well. And I think Ty Simpson will play well enough. I'll take Alabama. Utah and UCLA, also a really fascinating game between quarterbacks because you have two transfers making their first starts. Devin Dampier from Utah, who transferred from New Mexico as offensive coordinator. Jason Beck came with him. Nico Iamaleava starting for UCLA. Tino Sinceri coming from Indiana, and before that, James Madison under the Signetti tree. And Tino's not a little bit, he's a big Sark guy too. He's been connected with him through the years. Utah, UCLA, Dan, you get first swing at that one.
Really interesting. Want to see Iamaleava and what he can do at UCLA. I think he's a potential program changer for that program. Just excitement and all of that. But does he have the weapons? I'm going to take Utah in this thing. It's going to get wild though. Pac-12 after dark, right? Is this a Pac-12 after dark game? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Utah, UCLA, right? Oh no, neither team is in the Pac-12. It doesn't exist. My thing is Kyle Whittingham. It's a Big 12, Big 10 matchup. It's Pac-12 to me. I won't quit you. Kyle Whittingham said this is the best offensive line he's ever had. And I picked Utah to win the Big 12 because of that. I listened to Coach Kyle. So I'm going that. Coach Witt, Utah will pull this out.
I also picked Utah to win the Big 12. And I am just excited because this is an 11 p.m. kickoff. Last call football is one of the reasons why we love this sport. I will likely be in a Chapel Hill hotel room with a little drool on my chin and falling asleep in the third quarter. And I can't wait to do that. But I think Utah comes in and lays the hammer. Now, UCLA has upgraded talent-wise holistically. I don't think this is going to be like 42-10, but I think they will take over the game, push them around, and dare I say that Utah is the better quarterback than the 10th best quarterback in the SEC last year?
Well, maybe so, but Iamaleava has gotten a lot of rave reviews in camp, and he's a tough guy. He can run it if he's improved his accuracy a little bit and adapted to the system. I think I really am sorely tempted to take UCLA, but it seems like a fool's errand to go against Whittingham after bad season last year. He's made changes. I'm going to go Utah, but I'm going to do it with some trepidation. I think UCLA's got a chance to win that game. I'm not picking this one because I'm calling it on Monday night. What do you got on the Chapel Bill debut against those Horned Frogs, Pete?
I like the Horned Frogs until I have more clarity on UNC's roster. I have a hard time having conviction about them because there's just so much unknown. And I am convicted about Josh Hoover. He passed for almost 4,000 yards last year. He had the best single season passing performance in TCU history. I think he comes in and they slay the Giant and win in Chapel Bill to open the season.
Yeah, I got to pick TCU to win this game because I just, it was all about this is such a down year. Still won 9 games. I mean, this is a good program and you just know more about them. It's just really hard to pick numberless, right? Belichick went numberless. I'm not sure he knows, but I'm fascinated to see what Gio Lopez does. I'm a huge, covered a lot of Bill Belichick in the NFL. He is the best at situational football, the best at teaching. I think I said this, the number of Hall of Fame caliber players who would show up in New England late in their career and then rave about what they were learning. I just remember sitting with Junior Seau and he's going on and on about how good Bill Belichick is. And I mean, you're like, you're Junior Seau. Like what exactly was he teaching you at this point? But that's him. So I'm going to take TCU in this opener, but really exciting. And I think it's a great Monday night game for everyone to be fired up. You'll get a lot of casual fans trying to see the Belichick thing. And where do they put Jordan Hudson? Is she there? Or is she in a box? This is the side. This is not since Taylor Swift was showing up at games. Rece.
And Taylor Swift can continue to show up as games and soon to be wife of a player, which we wish them best.
Well. We wish them well. Yes. Absolutely. Maybe Cincinnati games when Travis retires and he goes back to some Bearcat games. I don't know.
Can you imagine Taylor Swift rolling into Nippert Stadium? One of his
She once attended a Notre Dame game.
Well, but that's to be expected. It's Notre Dame.
A long time ago. And I think she was in the crowd and the Notre Dame, they didn't, I think her brother went there. The story's going to be all wrong. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
She attended a game and the Notre Dame administration didn't know she was going to be there. And then they had to get security and get her to the sideline as fast as they possibly could. Not that the vicious Notre Dame student body was going to attack Taylor Swift, but obviously she wasn't as big of a star then. But she has been to a college game as far as I know.
Maybe some more. I can't wait to see that game. See if Belichick, who's been harping on fundamentals and the teaching points that Dan's talked about, the players have responded very well to that. One little side note on that game, while we were recording this podcast, when you call a game, you get these spotter boards to help, so your spotter can help you pick out who makes blocks, stuff like that, and all of those things. The guy who puts those together for me said, "Hey, can you get me the depth charts for both teams? Because obviously North Carolina hasn't released one. I guess TCU blurred theirs out or something." So anyway, I've got some work to do after we finish this on that front. Syracuse and Tennessee will follow College GameDay on Saturday morning, and Syracuse completely rebuilt. Notre Dame, former Notre Dame quarterback Steve Angeli going there. Joey Aguilar, former UCLA quarterback for about half a minute. He was the transfer portal guy who went from App State to UCLA. When Maliava went to UCLA, it was an effective de facto trade that sent him to Tennessee. So, Dan, what do you think? Syracuse, Tennessee.
With no point spread, I got to take Tennessee in this game. Am I crazy to still be I still kind of believe in Tennessee. I obviously it'd be better if Maliava was there, but Joey Aguilar, we'll see how he fits in, but they've recruited really, really well. There's a lot of strong strengths of this team. And I like parts of their defense. They've had some injuries, different things, but I think Tennessee maybe surprises some people this year is a little better than they're not getting a lot of hype, but I don't think we just write off Tennessee. So I see them winning this game. I see them winning a bunch of games this year. Maybe not a playoff team, but this is a really good program that they got going.
I think this game's going to be kind of a mess, right? Like, I just think there's a lot of new here. I don't ever recall a game like this. I'm not saying it's the first time this has happened, but it's rare to have two quarterbacks who are starting for their school in the opener who came after the spring, right? So you have Joey Aguilar, who led the nation in interceptions last year, playing with a whole fresh slate. By the way, and Tennessee's offense was completely run game dependent last year. Like they kind of did an about face for what you'd expect a Josh Heupel team. And then Syracuse led the nation in passing last year. They had Kyle McCord broke the ACC passing record, and it was a single season best wide open. So you would think Syracuse is going to continue to be wide open with Steve Angeli. An important note is that Jermod McCoy, who's Tennessee's first-team All-American corner, is not expected to play in the game. He's come back from an ACL injury in January, I believe, and they do expect him back at some point early in the season, but he's not going to be there. So I bring that all up to say, like, I think this game's going to be a little bit of a mess. I do think Tennessee has more talent, but there's a bunch of. I think it's going to be kind of fun, like a fun college football game. I will take the Vols in the battle of the orange, but I think it's going to be a little. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slobber knocker.
I'm taking Tennessee too. I believe in what Fran Brown has done, but they lost McCord, they lost Trevor Pena, wide receiver. Tennessee is starting a freshman offensive tackle, highly touted guy, but they don't have any experience to speak of up front. They have no seniors in the two deep on the offensive line. They don't have much offensive production coming back. They lost Dylan Sampson, running back, so you're waiting to see if Deshaun Bishop, some of their other running backs, can carry that load. They got Star Thomas transferring over from Duke. I think Tennessee will have enough to win this game, but I think got a real wait and see feel on the Volunteers, in my judgment, due to their quarterback situation and their offensive line relative inexperience. A couple of great games Friday night. One that I don't think there's anything that would be particularly surprising in Waco Friday night with Auburn and Baylor, Pete. Hugh Freeze, 3 guys calling plays at least, maybe 3 quarterbacks. I don't know. Maybe some fake punts. You got Dave Aranda quoting Wolf of Wall Street. I kind of like what Baylor's got coming back. I mean, but what do you think about that game?
I think it's a fascinating game. One of the best games of the weekend. I'm going to go with Baylor. I believe in Sawyer Robertson. I think they have the better quarterback in the game. And no matter how many quarterbacks Auburn plays, although I really think they'll only play Jackson Arnold. One thing I've learned in this NIL era is your quarterback reps are usually directly proportional to where their salary slots are. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I think that's going to be where they do end up. But this is like a once a decade opportunity kind of for Baylor, right? Like Friday night, national TV, solo audience. McLean Stadium is going to be buzzing, and it'll be a hard hat Dave Aranda team that has an identity. And I think Sawyer Robertson is one of those guys. Like if we're in mid-November and we're talking about him as a first-round pick, it wouldn't shock me. But he's got to go perform, especially Friday night.
Love this game. Waco is going to be lit. Friday night lights in Texas. Look, they won their last 6 regular season games last year. Sawyer Robertson took off, and like you said, Aranda, hard hat. They need this. And this is the season they're building to. And you don't get them a million times at Baylor. I don't know what to make of Auburn. Look, if Jackson Arnold is the 5-star recruit level player, this is a potential playoff team, a real disruptor in the SEC. If we're seeing Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight, and Ashton Daniels and all 3 play callers and all of that, this is all going to go haywire. So I'm fascinated to see what happens with this Auburn season. Hugh Freeze needs a winning season. My golfing buddy, but he needs maybe if he ever invites me. I'm just saying. I do own clubs, all that. But no, this is it. So this could be the microcosm. This could go any which way, but I'm going to take Baylor in this game. I just think they're more settled as a program and they're at home. I think it's going to be really hyped down there.
I know the new quarterback or quarterbacks at Auburn. I think you're right. Pete Jackson Arnold plays most of the game. I think Auburn's got a chance to be good. I know they were 2-6 in conference play last year, but they outgained their opponents in SEC play by an average of 62 yards per game, somehow finished 2-6, largely because they were -9 in turnovers. They were terrible on third down on defense. That's going to need to change against Sawyer Robertson. But that receiving core, and they have some experience on the offensive front. I'm going to take Auburn. I think Auburn's got a chance to have one of those Auburn years when you're like, where did they come from? So I'm going to take Auburn to go into Waco and win that game. Georgia
Can I let
Tech.
Dan in on a podcast secret, Rece?
Yeah, about the Haunted Mansion. We're not in the Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion's a great line, but
Okay.
Rece is an Alabama grad, as you probably know, Dan, and he's married to an Auburn grad.
Oh.
And early in his career, he once shared that he picked against Auburn, and that was discouraged at home. So I was not surprised that in this fairly benign coin flip of a game, he's choosing peace in his household, especially with a family wedding coming up soon, as opposed to going sick of Bears and having some domestic disputes on the plane.
Dan, I took someone as a super dog over Auburn. That was not greeted well.
Yeah, well, I'll use this opportunity to plug my man Jay Busby's book, Iron in the Blood, new book on the Auburn-Alabama rivalry. I'll get one sent to you, Rece. I'm sure he'll send you one.
Please do.
Yes, and you guys can pass it back and forth. Yeah, it's true. It's really good. And that can heave it. Otherwise,
good writer and topic there.
Yeah, it's a great topic. He's a great writer out of Atlanta. It's very, very good. I'm already about three chapters in, which, sometimes you get these books and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll read it, and don't quite get to it. But it's excellent. Iron in the Blood. But you don't want to do extra dishes, like extra. Boy, the lawn's looking a little ragged there. Get out there. So might as well just keep picking Auburn. We got you. We got you.
Our marriage is steeped in SEC lore. I met her. She was a sales representative, a sales person at the station CBS affiliate in Columbus, Georgia, where I worked. I wanted to meet the pretty new woman in sales, so I pretended not to know how to use the fax machine when I was sending a football credential request to Auburn. Found out later she had gone there. It turns out she was such a good salesperson. She was, with her commission, she was making more money than the general manager at this little station. And so our first date was a bet on the Alabama-Auburn game. And since I didn't have any money, working in sports in market, 120 or whatever it was, I'm eternally grateful to Gene Stallings for stopping the losing streak and also not making me have to pay for something I couldn't afford. And it's led to 3 decades plus of holy matrimony, which is what I wish for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift too.
Yeah, very similar. This is Rece Riz. I like this. I thought, it's much like Taylor and
I wouldn't say the whole attention.
She out earns them.
Yep, she does. I will say this: if Travis and Taylor have the wedded bliss that I've been blessed to enjoy, they've got everything in the world. And they don't need all of their money. There we go. Boy, that ought to score me some points at home. Okay. Georgia Tech and Colorado on Friday night. Dan, you go first with this one. I think it's your turn.
This is going to be good. I'm intrigued at how competitive Colorado is. A whole new era. I don't think they're gonna they play 2 quarterbacks. They get Juju Watkins as their big recruit, but I think they're gonna hold him off for a little bit. I like what Georgia Tech has shown. They got to close out games and win them. That's in Colorado?
Yes.
Game is at Colorado. Altitude. Can we play altitude on this? I'm going to take Georgia Tech. I'm not unsure what we're going to get on Colorado. This thing about Colorado, very veteran team. They just haven't always been at Colorado, but Coach Prime was not happy with the team a couple weeks ago. Who knows what that's worth? I'll take Georgia Tech, but I don't know. This is a tough one. Colorado's hard to predict.
I have some conviction on this game. I really like Georgia Tech. Now, some of this we're all biased by experience, right? Some of this is Rece and I standing on the field in Dublin last year for the opener and watching Georgia Tech masterfully squeeze the clock, shorten the game, pressurize everything, and push Florida State around being a better, more disciplined team. Caden Salter, who's going to start for Colorado, has won 23 games as a starter. So he's not exactly, falling off the turnip truck, but I'm going to go with Haynes King. He's actually older than me. But I think that, I just think that the experience he's going to have and his ability to manufacture first downs with his legs is going to be huge. it wouldn't be me on a podcast if I didn't give you a random offensive lineman to watch. 5-star freshman Josh Petty is supposed to play extensively for Georgia Tech in this game. He's really interesting. He's a lineman that they paid a ton of money for in the portal and could have gone anywhere. And Georgia Tech has prioritized the line of scrimmage in its spending, which is really interesting. So he's a guy who will be a big factor in college football in terms of being a prominent guy at that position. It'll be interesting to see when Brent Key ends up playing him, but that's kind of a fun little nerdy storyline for you.
Well, it stands to reason. Brent Key, offensive lineman, and Petty's the highest ranked recruit for Georgia Tech in the ESPN recruiting era, which is 2006, so 2 decades. It's their highest ranked recruit. I agree with you on Haynes King and the legs, but I think the thing you're going to see is if the injuries are healed, I think you'll see a little bit more explosiveness in the passing game. Remember, late last season, Haynes had to come out of the game, basically, if they were going to throw the ball down the field because he just physically wasn't able to do it, yet he continued to gut his way out of first downs. This game's got some juice to it. There's been some chirping back and forth on both sides. A Georgia Tech player basically channeling his inner Dan Lanning and saying, all of the stars and celebrities around, that doesn't matter, going for attention, that kind of thing. And then they had someone on the Colorado side say, the Georgia Tech guys just kind of get in your way. They're not really going to attack you and hit you, in the running game up front. They just try to get in the way. So all of this together, I think this is going to be a really entertaining game. Listeners to this podcast know that I believe Deion Sanders to be a really good coach, tough, hard-nosed, old-school kind of coach. I think Georgia Tech's pretty good. I'm going to take the Rambling Wreck. I think they win the game, and I hope that if you want to keep tranquility in the family and the upcoming family wedding that Pete mentioned, my daughter's fiance is a CU grad and an avid Buffalo fan, so maybe he didn't make it this far in the podcast. Deep cut, Dan. I know you love the deep cuts, and what do you got for us? What's the game that nobody else is paying attention to, but you are?
We got Utah State and UTEP. How's that? Is that deep cut enough for you?
There's a reason for that, isn't there, Pete?
Well,
Dan, explain your UTEP fandom, please.
Well,
first off,
audience. Yeah, who isn't?
Yes.
Why should I? I mean, why aren't you a UTEP fan? No, I love El Paso and I love UTEP. I was a friend of Don Haskins, the late great Hall of Fame basketball coach, and wrote the book Glory Road. That they, had a Disney movie about, and all the guys in the 1966 Texas Western College, it was called then. I always like the name Texas Western better than UTEP, but I get it. First basketball team to start 5 African-American players won the national title. So I am a huge UTEP fan or supporter. I'll pull for them out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Malachi Nelson will start. That's how Marty Robbins should have written it. Former, 5-star recruit, number 1 recruit to some people. Didn't work at USC. Didn't work at Boise State. He's now the starter at UTEP. So we're going to see. That said, since there's a ribeye on this, Don Haskins would roll over in his grave if I didn't prioritize winning the ribeye. So I am taking Utah State.
I'm going to take Utah State as well, mostly because Bronco Mendenhall is the coach there now, and I have covered college football long enough to know Bronco Mendenhall is one of the best college football coaches that I've covered. He's won games a lot of places and a lot of hard places, including at New Mexico last year, really revitalizing that place in short work. I am fascinated to see Malachi Nelson in Logan on Saturday. It will be a really fun experiment for Scotty Walden. I've been told he's really acclimated to the culture at UTEP and is, just has been engaged. And it'll be fascinating to see what he does in an offense that's pretty pass happy and tempo based. But we'll go with the home team in Logan. And we appreciate your UTEP fandom, Dan. Even though you went to UMass, so you've really got some blue blood in you.
Yeah, I'm like those Cowboy Yankee Laker fans. except the exact opposite. It's been a tough century, boys. It's been a tough century. Yeah.
Once had Big Daddy David Lattin join us on a Final Four show from that great 1966 team. Great book, great movie, great story. Not a great story for this one. I'll say Utah State wins the game.
UTEP did just recently have one day after practice, they had a this is why UTEP's just great. El Paso's just a great community. They had a taco, who could eat more tacos, the defensive line or the offensive line?
Who won?
And the offensive line won 48-42. It was like 5-minute time limit. So
are these hard shell or soft shell?
Soft shell. Yeah, this is El Paso.
Right. So wrapped in a little aluminum foil.
Little tacos. Like they made them up, but that's what they do. This program. If you like tacos, you like UTEP. That's it. So this is your team. I'm gonna build the fan base, one podcast at a time here.
That's the deep cut. That's the deep cut, edging out East Texas A&M taking on SMU. So there we go. Does anybody know?
SMU goes to Missouri State in week 3, by the way. Just one of those whoa.
Remember when Drink took Missouri to UMass? Dan, I was like, what are you doing? That has to get off the schedule.
Luther Burden got hurt in that game. Do you remember that? Luther Burden got hurt. The things I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
UMass is a vaunted stadium. Next week, Bill Belichick coaches at Charlotte.
Yeah. And
the
quarterback.
It's just too bad Biff Poggi's not the coach there anymore. You could have the battling cutoff hoodies.
Well, Biff Poggi may be Michigan's interim week 3, so you can see him. You can see him then. He's on the staff at Michigan. I don't know if he's going to be or not. I want to be very clear, but I would think he's a candidate to be.
Aggregate that.
Depending on
Pete Thamel.
He's on the staff and he's an experienced head coach. So a lot of times when they select interims, they don't want a play caller because it disrupts what they do. So they take a position coach or a special teams coach or something like that. So anyway, that is a theory. Please don't aggregate it. Connor Harrell started for North Carolina against Charlotte last year, and he will likely start for Charlotte against North Carolina this year.
We've got a few of those guys seeing former teammates at the quarterback position. A lot of great storylines, a lot of fun this morning. Blockbuster games on Saturday. The farewell to Lee Corso, which will be a memorable show for all of us. We hope you'll join us. Headgear pick is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen before. Don't know who he's picking. My hope is that he puts the horns up, then turns them down, says forget about it, and grabs Brutus or some variation. But that's a closely guarded secret known only to LC right now. So we hope you'll join us for that. Thanks for listening to the College Game Day podcast. Download wherever you prefer to get your podcast or subscribe and never miss a single episode. And on behalf of Dan Wetzel, go UTEP. And on behalf of Pete Thamel, thanks for adding class to our podcast by bringing Teddy into the mix.